No date is perfect. But January 1, I think, was signified by the government. In the 2012 budget, there was no provision for fuel subsidy.
Good morning, Mr. Peterside. It is 4 days into a nationwide strike declared by the NLC and TUC, which has apparently grounded economic activities throughout the country. The Save Nigeria Group, Occupy Nigeria Group, a number of civil societies have been adamant that the government revert to the original price of petrol, which was 65 naira. What is your reaction to the fact that the government is yet to budge?
See, let's be careful here, because I think that I'm hearing two very different things. You yourself, you mentioned an NLC strike and you mentioned protests. Some of the people who are protesting don't belong to NLC. You follow me? NLC embarked upon a strike. I believe that in society, without law and order, we have nothing else. I think it's very, very important, and the government must think very carefully how they reward an illegality. If I were the government, which I'm not, I would appeal to NLC through different channels that as soon as you call off your illegal strike, within 2 hours I'll dialogue with you. Because that's my personal position, not the government's. But protesters have not broken the law. There's nothing illegal about me protesting about something. I can pick up a placard, go to my governor in Lagos State, Fashola, and say I'm unhappy about something. There's nothing wrong in him listening to me today, tomorrow, or day after. So I would encourage the governors in all the 36 states, the president, and even LGA chairmen to dialogue with protesters, because there's nothing illegal about that. And I think all of us, governors, LGA chairmen, everybody should appeal to NLC to respect the rule of law. And then let the governors and the president promise NLC that as soon as you respect the rule of law, we will be in there with you negotiating. I think that's my personal position on what should be done. And I would like it if even people like you would appeal to NLC, appeal to protesters. The other thing that worries me, of course, is that NLC is talking about fuel. If you listen to the protesters, some of them are talking about good governance, not about fuel. Many have told me, look, Mr. Peterside, I assure you that I have no problem with the regulation. I like the policy. I'm talking about good governance. Yes, I've said it myself, and I'll say it again. I think on the government side, on all 3 tiers of government, state government, LGA, federal, there are 3 things here. I think all of them should do away with, number 1, wasteful subsidies that are enjoyed by the rich and not the poor. Nothing wrong in trying to subsidize the poor. I'm all for that. Number 2, they must show good example through belt tightening. Again, I'm talking about all 3 tiers of government, including National Assembly, state assemblies. And then number 3, they must fight corruption. So I'm talking about the 3 items: remove wasteful subsidies, belt tightening to take care of wasteful expenditure generally, and fighting corruption. I don't know a 4th item. I only know 3 items. And I think that I've invited people that, please, if you know a 4th item, tell me. And I think that every governor in the country now, the president, every LGA chairman has heard that protest, that Nigerians want 3 things. But those 3 things together are instrumental towards attaining lasting good governance. So those are my initial comments on matters to do with protest, NLC strike, and so on.
The town hall meeting was held about 2 weeks before the announcement of the removal of fuel subsidies. We were part of the economic management team. Some members of that team were at that town hall meeting in Lagos, and the idea was to entrust to Nigerians this removal of subsidy issue. Some will argue that at a certain point in time, the president was beginning to win some support. Now, there are 2 issues here: timing and trust. What's your reaction to people who say the timing was wrong and the government betrayed their trust by not telling them this is when this move will take place and how it will be dealt with?
You know, I think I will talk about timing and trust. Let me take timing first. I think many people simplify this matter. Nigerians are not stupid. We have some of the smartest people on earth in Nigeria, and I'm proud of that. If you tell, let me also confirm that I did not know about the timing. There's no reason for anybody to tell me about the timing. I'm in the economic management team. I endorsed fully, everybody did, the removal of subsidies. The Governors Forum endorsed it fully. The timing is not something that you come and discuss with the whole economic management team. It's unnecessary. In any case, we were meeting only once in 2 weeks. I'm a part-timer. But let me tell you something about timing. Let's just think correctly with our heads well screwed on. If a president comes and announces, or a governor, or NMPC, or anybody, that in a month's time, we will deregulate fuel, everybody can extrapolate that the price will go to 140 naira. So who will sell fuel to you today at 65 naira? When you can either hoard the fuel, or indeed if he sells it, won't you yourself go out and try and buy all the fuel you can buy in advance? So for the period between when you give the notice and your terminal date, there will be mayhem in the country. You won't be able to go near any filling station. There will be confusion. Not to mention that the product will be scarce, because every marketer, and please, there's some honorable ones, every dubious marketer has enough sense to know that if he can just hide 10 tankers of fuel somewhere in the bush and wait for the date you announced, he can double his money. So the point I'm making is that let's be careful. The only way this thing can work is to do it almost overnight. Having said that, you should have dialogue with the people, which is what happened. You mentioned the town hall meeting, so there was some dialogue. From what I know, the dialogue was for 3 whole months. But the point I'm making is that you cannot handle something like this by telling people in advance on what date they have to pay double the price for something. When General Obasanjo handled the diesel price deregulation, it was almost overnight. In any case, if you say you don't trust the marketers, how can you trust them to sell something to the masses at a price when if they hold it back and wait 4 weeks or 2 months, they will double their money? So please, the timing is sensitive, it's delicate. And as to all these things like the timing, this is the wrong time of the year, and so on and so forth. Look, you can post, there's no right time for bad news. That's my experience. I keep asking these people, okay, give me a better date. Give me a better date. There's something about January 1. It's not perfect. No date is perfect. But January 1, I think, was signified by the government through its budget submissions, which showed that in the 2012 budget, there was no provision for fuel subsidy. Now, most Nigerians don't read. Many took a cue from that and said, is the government saying that effectively from January 1, they will stop making the provision for this? So indeed, for the government to continue into January with subsidies means that the submission they made to Senate and so on was incorrect. So to me, there was a clue in there for people to read. Now, I'm not going to say timing is perfect because I'm no expert on timing. Only the Lord knows the best time for anything. I'll tell you one thing, is there a right time to die? There's never a right time for bad news. When you talk about trust, please remember that trust too is a complex thing. Let me tell you how I decide who I want to trust. I generally, by my inclination, tend to trust and believe people who make tough choices. I am very worried and very careful about people who make statements that are very populist. And also their statements over the years are inconsistent. So about trust, who does not know among us that President Jonathan could have decided that, like many who came before him, not necessarily civilian, military and others, he would come in there, Nigerians want cheap petrol, give it to them, spend 4 years doing nothing, even import the cheap petrol through his friends make a fortune, 4 years from now, he packs his bags and goes away. His friends are very rich. Everybody is happy, and we are left in a mess with a huge debt. Who doesn't know that that is the easy option for President Jonathan? Let that person get up and tell me that he doesn't know that. In any case, you complain that something is corrupt, subsidy, you talk about cabal and so on. A man gets up and says, this thing must stop, therefore. You don't tell him, you not say, no, he's insincere. Let me tell you again about trust. Look at the key lieutenants that he has for the economy. On the fiscal side is Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I don't know what Nigerians want in terms of trust. Because I think I've read all kinds of nonsense about that lady, which I find disgusting. In fact, I feel ashamed. I almost feel embarrassed that I was among those who begged her to please leave the World Bank and come here and help our country. She has helped us before on debt relief. This country was choking in debt. If that woman wanted to be rich, she'll be super rich. Please, let's be very careful. Also, I look at consistency. I first knew Ngozi when she was a little girl in the World Bank, ever before she came near Nigerian government. From that day till today, she has been consistent. Okay, let's move to the monetary side. It's headed by Lamido Sanusi. I've known Lamido since he was a schoolboy. Lamido has been consistently preaching some things. In fact, he sounds like a parrot, saying the same thing every day. So he must be preaching what he believes in. So I have reason to trust him. Let me tell you those I don't trust. It's those whom, depending on the audience, they change their story. The day they're in government, they say one thing. When they're in the private sector, they say a different thing. I'm not in government, but I guarantee you that whatever I'm telling you today is probably what I said yesterday and what I'll say tomorrow. I do not mean that I'm insensitive. I'm just saying that I do not change my direction depending on who is listening. I'm not playing to the gallery. I don't care to be popular. My only concern is what is good for my nation. So my point is, let's be very careful. How you look at a president, you look at Ngozi, or you look at Lamido, and you talk about trust. In any case, let's use some numbers. The fuel subsidy provision, if there was one in the 2012 budget, would have been 1.1 trillion. That was the estimate they had. If you don't have that subsidy, you remove it. They're going to share the money largely between the three tiers of government. Federal government will get 470 billion. The state governments will get 400 billion. And the local governments will get 200 billion. So therefore, the federal government share is 470. The combination of the shares of the states and the LGAs is therefore what? 600 billion. 600 billion is more than 470. So therefore, the lion's share of the money is devolved to every state through a state governor and the LGA. Why is it only the federal government telling people what they will do with their own share? Why don't we each of us go to our governor and say, listen, Mr. Governor, between you and your LGAs, you are getting 600 billion, which is even bigger than the federal. You tell us too what you will do with this money. Yet some governors are trying to hide their heads in the sand. I'm very proud that my governor in Rivers State has come out, told his people what he would do, gone to negotiate with NLC, transporters, everything, assuring them. And from the reports I get, things are quiet in Rivers State. Other governors have done the same. In Anambra, Peter Obi has told his people what he will do. Same in Edo State, things are quiet. We are now going to know in Nigeria who are the true leaders. If there is trouble in a state, who should be held responsible? Is it not the governor that should come out in the state and ensure calm in the state? So how can a governor go into hiding when there's trouble all over his state and he tells me he's a good governor? Nigerians, please open your eyes. One by one, the governors, we will know who among them, we will know the men from the boys. It is every governor's number one task to ensure law and order in his state. They approved the fuel subsidy removal. They even put pressure on the president to do it earlier. So let each governor come out. In fact, let each LGA chairman come out and tell his people what he's doing. That's how you build trust. Instead of some of them cleverly trying to deflect attention at federal or somewhere else, or the saying that it was approved by the economic team. I respect people who stand up and get counted. Also, please, I said three things must be done simultaneously. I mentioned belt tightening. Please, belt tightening is at the three tiers of government. There is wastage in state governments, wastage in LGAs, wastage in Senate, wastage in House of Rep. Let us demand belt tightening across the board. It's not only in the federal government. At least the federal government has acknowledged that they're now going to embrace belt tightening of some sort. You say that it's not good enough. No problem, then let's have a discussion. Let us tell the federal government, please do more. We also want you to do more in that area. Hang on a second. How about the state governors? Are you saying there's no wastage at that level? Are you saying there's no wastage at the LGA level? I have initiated action in my own state. I dialogue with my governor. I dialogue with my senator. I dialogue with my local rep and so on. Nigerians should open their eyes and do the same. So people around you who have done nothing, senators who collect fat allowances from your own area, you fail to call their attention to what they must do. They turn around and tell you that it's the president. May the Lord remove the scales from your eyes.